After an impressive spring and asking for his release, he's back. C.J. Edwards, Carl Edwards Jr., part of that 2016 World Series champion team, back in the organization, AAA Iowa. Opportunity for the Cubs maybe to call him up to the bullpen if they need him. We're going to talk about that. Cubs have won 5 in a row. We're going to get into that. How did they do it? Craig Counsell's Cubs, right? All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That's a way of saying, go Cubs. Let's get this party started. All right, with Anthony Pasquale, I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball channel. I'm at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and it is great to talk to you guys and get into some Cubs topics. Right out of the chute, Anthony, I got to tell you, I was just elated to learn that the Cubs on Friday brought back C.J. Edwards.
Yeah, we saw a few reports from the reporters that cover the Iowa Cubs saying he's back in the building and nothing had officially been announced, but you can pretty much assure yourself that he's back with the Cubs, probably on another minor league deal, but this time not asking for his release. He wants to be with the Cubs, and it looks like, especially with some of the shaky starts we've seen from Jose Cuas and Yensei Almonte, he's a guy that you can use in that bullpen. We know he's got the velocity. He's got great stuff. He's had a few above average seasons with the Washington Nationals in the past few years. And like you mentioned in the open, a guy that's been a part of winning baseball at Wrigley before. So I'm excited that they have some more depth in the bullpen in the system. And hopefully he's a guy that we'll see up in the big leagues sooner rather than later.
Well, he was great in spring training. Right.
Yeah.
And when you're a guy, he had the string bean slinger, had a great season. His numbers looked really good for the Nationals last year. You're trying to find a job and you go to spring training and you do well. You figure, hey, somebody's going to sign me. And it didn't happen. But he was one of the Cubs' most reliable pitchers in the spring. And so, you know what? It didn't happen for him. So now come back, go to Iowa. And then when the Cubs need you, he obviously feels like there's a chance. And like you said, you know, you talk about some of those shaky guys in the bullpen. It's not like if you don't make the team out of spring training that you're not going to make the team. It just didn't happen out of spring training. And a lot of that has to do with decisions, because if you put him on, you got to take somebody else off the roster, right?
Yeah,
so,
and you got to worry about options and all those other
losing players. Right. So we'll see. But I thought that was awesome, man. It would be great to have not one, but two former World Series champions on the Cubs team, along with Kyle Hendricks. 2016, it's not like it's, 1907, but it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And you mentioned Kyle Hendricks. He got to start yesterday, battled through 4 innings. Cubs got the win, of course, against the Dodgers, make that 5 in a row. It was our first watch party. I'd say we're off to a great start in terms of the Friday watch parties. You had a lot of support offensively. They scored 9 runs. They won 9-7 yesterday. Michael Busch had a great game against his former team. A home run, and then the game-saving play. And he wasn't the only guy that made a difference defensively. Nick Madrigal made a few great efforts. Nico Horner had a 2-run diving play to save 2 runs, which ended up being the difference in the game. So it was great all around. They got the win in a big way, and Michael Busch was a huge part of that.
This guy had done it all in the minor leagues, right? Minor league was like AAA player of the year, and the numbers were off the charts. A ton of home runs, RBIs, on base, walks, all that stuff. He played first base in college, and then the Dodgers had a first baseman, so they moved him to other positions. The Cubs were like, hey, if we get this guy, maybe put him at first, and maybe we got something. He's looked, good at first base. I mean, he's made some great plays, including the last out, which was an amazing diving catch. But it's a tough position because you're catching balls on throws the entire game. It's a footwork position. It's a hands position. But he's done that well. He got a home run against his former team. And the Cubs, I don't know, it was early in spring. They're like, hey, it's his job. Let's just put him over there. So far, so good. Like he's done it. And I'm sure that home run against his former team, the Dodgers, felt good. So now you need one more and you win the series, and so they can win it today or they can win it tomorrow. And I think the pitching matchup works better because it's left-handers against this Dodger lineup that has so many good left-handed batters in it with Wicks and then Imanaga back-to-back games.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if you had to tell me that the Cubs were going to win one game, I would have probably told you that it wouldn't have been the game that Kyle Hendricks started. I didn't think it was a great matchup for the Dodgers, but the offense never quit. They battled back. Seiya kept hitting, and the bullpen was solid too. But these matchups today and tomorrow, Wicks against Yamamoto and tomorrow Imanaga going, I like those matchups against this huge lefty-heavy lineup. I mean, Ohtani, Freeman, Muncy, Outman, Hayward when he's healthy. That team is loaded with lefties, and the Cubs are loaded with lefty starters. So getting Wicks back out there, he was on the bad end of a few tough breaks in that Texas game, but I think he had a pretty good outing. He had a lot of bats. He was piling up the strikeouts, and we all know what Imanaga did in his debut. So I'm excited to see both these guys against a pretty tough test in the National League.
One lefty they won't have is probably Smiley, but as you wrote, all smiles from Smiley in yesterday's game. Did an excellent job coming off of the bench and pitching, and out of the bullpen anyway, and pitching and getting the job done. Some outs. I mean, I know he gave up some runs in that third inning. I probably wouldn't have brought him out for that one. You mentioned that too, but when the Cubs needed to try to slow down the Dodgers, and that's the kind of game you're just trying to slow down. You're not going to stop anybody when those blowouts, those shootouts at Wrigley Field happen, but you just try to slow him down. He did a nice job of that, but you don't have him as a left-handed option, which leaves Luke Little as your other lefty out of the pen. And then the other guy we got to talk about is Seiya Suzuki. I mean, he just continues to produce.
Yeah, he had another great game. Smiley, just going back to him, 46 pitches, so definitely down tomorrow. Probably down maybe into the first game of the series with the Padres. That's a lot of pitches that come out of the pen, but he was great. 2 2/3 innings. Got a few big strikeouts. He was huge for the Cubs. I think Counsell might have left Hendricks in a little bit too long and Smiley a little bit too long. But hey, we can come away with a win. You can't be too upset about it. But yeah, Suzuki, we talked about it a few days ago, starting his MVP candidacy. He does not stop hitting the ball. He had another 3 runs driven in, only 1 hit. It was a bases clearing double. But he also had a sac fly that was crucial. And he's just a guy you want up when you need something good to happen. And it's been awesome to see him kind of take that next step from last August on. And the fact that he keeps continuing is just great news for Chicago.
29 at bats, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a 345 batting average, an OPS over 1,000. I mean, this guy's really having a great start to the season. And what's nice is that Bellinger's struggling early on. I mean, we're not 10 games in. It doesn't matter. Cubs have won 5 in a row after losing the first 2, right? So playing their 8th game. But he's kind of stepped up in that spot.
Yeah, he's been all the offense you could have asked for and more, and especially when Bellinger's kind of struggling. But imagine when Bellinger's hitting and Morel's hitting and Seiya's hitting. That lineup is as good as anybody in the National League besides maybe the Dodgers and the Braves.
Yeah, no doubt. So he's been excellent. And it kind of puts the Cubs in a spot where, this matchup, and we put it up there today, Wicks against Yamamoto. And Yamamoto hasn't looked good in spring. He got roughed up in his first start. It's been a tough transition for Yamamoto, who's paid a ton of money to come to America. Eventually, the light bulb's going to go on. I just hope it's not today at Wrigley.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's probably a good thing for baseball if he pitches well, but you really don't want it to be against your team. And I'm afraid it's going to be just because he's had so many kind of rough outings in spring and then his first 2 starts of the season. But, that the series in Korea, I'm not putting too much into that for either team. I think that was just a weird thing to start 2 weeks early and then get 2 more weeks of spring. That was all messed up. But Yamamoto, you can't deny it. He's struggled so far. So I think lefties have hit him really well, so keep an eye on, your Haps and your Bellingers today to maybe keep it up offensively. But, a 7.5 ERA is nothing great. So hopefully the Cubs don't see him turn the tides yet.
Yep, and that's where we are. Big game again at Wrigley against the Dodgers. Cubs so far in this homestand have won all 4 games. And, all 4 games because they won the last game against the Rangers. So
Yes.
they've won 5 in a row, and they've got a couple more games at Wrigley. But you're starting to feel, I guess the final thing to get into is you're starting to feel what Craig Counsell as manager looks like, how he manages.
You are. And he's a type of guy that is kind of revered around baseball for the way he manages the roster and manages the bullpen. And we saw it in yesterday's game. Did a good job of keeping the matchups going. He's got Busch going when he needs to be. Cooper still has a bench that he has yet to really fully exploit because we haven't seen a ton of Mike Tauchman or a ton of Miles Mastroboni yet. But the fact of the matter is 5 straight wins and he's 4-0 at Wrigley. He's figuring out how to manage this team, and it seems like he's getting the most out of them, and that's a great thing to see.
Yep. All right, guys, that does it for us. If something breaks, we'll jump on. If not, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Again, Cubs riding high, but that can change fast against a team like the Dodgers. And you got a feeling that you're going to see different styles of games, just depending on the conditions and, what's going on, how the umpire's calling the game,
right.
All that kind of stuff. So, but I'll take 5 in a row at any time.
Anytime.
So, all right, guys, get in the comments section. Tell us what you think. Thank you for hanging out. And we will talk to you again really soon. If you missed the watch party, go back and watch it. It's on there. You can watch it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun yesterday. So for Anthony, I'm Mick. Thanks for hanging out. And again, like, subscribe, thumbs up, go Cubs.
Bye.